Welcome to the first episode of the Punchout. Here, I deconstruct mass media news and other news organization outlets. I do this because they lie, they mislead, and they slant their stories to make you feel a certain way or form a certain opinion based on whatever theme or story that they're pushing at the time.
You ain't got to lie, Craig. You ain't got to lie.
What they're not doing is telling you the truth. And the why of that is for one of the simplest and most basic of all reasons, money. As we go down this path, or the hole as it were, I'll show you the hows and whys of that money. Now anybody can look this stuff up. My challenge is to make it interesting and fun, so you'll want to come back and see what I grouse about next time.
What the hell's going on out here?
Now, like the classic namesake video game Punch-Out, once you know the tells and tricks of the game, it becomes much easier to beat. So I'll show you a story, expose its tricks and tells, and give you the real truth so you know how to better understand the game, thereby beating the game. In most cases, I should even be able to cite some actual non-biased factual data for our reference. Again, like the classic video game, my first target is going to be a Glass Joe because I am just an amateur here. So my Glass Joe is Rachel Maddow.
One eternity later.
If you're still here, that tells me then you're at least open to the idea that maybe you have been misled to, that maybe you have been lied to, that maybe that itch of cognitive dissonance in the back of your brain might actually get its scratch. So enjoy the clip. We'll come back and start taking it apart.
I want to show you a weather map from Oklahoma from the first Saturday morning in September. This is September 2016, and this is a loop of the weather radar map that day. And we're going to run it on this little loop here so you can see what's weird about it. You see that blue-green like burst? This is not something you typically see on weather radar, right? It's like a bloom or like a burst or a flashbulb going off. What that is not clouds. It's not a storm. It's not a tornado or something. What that is, that big burst of blue and green on the weather map, that's birds. Because 15 minutes after they did that, 15 minutes after 6:47 at 7:02 a.m., something did happen. 7:02 a.m., Saturday morning, September 3rd, there was an earthquake in Oklahoma, and the birds knew it was coming.
Barely 2 minutes in, and she has already committed a fallacy of logic. One of the biggest tricks that the media uses. Fallacies of logic is the go-to method of making one's point, especially in mass media news, when you can't tell the truth. Her fallacy here is an appeal to emotion, something that's also known as a red herring. By making you think that the birds on radar are something significant related to the earthquake, you are made to feel that this is some sort of unique event, when in fact it is not. Weather radar has been used for decades to track bird migrations. Here, can I do it right here? Is that right here? Is an exhaustive article on just that very thing. It is very detailed, and again, it is very exhaustive, meaning if you try to read it, it'll probably put you to sleep. But it is the truth, the actual non-biased truth.
Different. The quake fanning out across the country felt in Nebraska, Missouri, Iowa, Arkansas, Texas, and as far as Illinois and Colorado.
Crazy.
But more alarming than the shaking, an upward trend documented by the U.S. Geological Survey showing a spike in Oklahoma earthquakes, a region with heavy oil and natural gas production. This year, for the first time, geologists putting out a map highlighting areas prone to human-caused earthquakes. They're linked to the practice of fracking and injecting wastewater at high pressure deep into the earth.
This backgrounder segment alone could warrant its own deconstruction. The only things I will point out here is this map behind me that shows the thousands of fracking and oil and gas exploration sites around the country that have no earthquakes. But oddly enough, Oklahoma does have an actual fault line of its own called the Mears Fault. You can look that up on the interwebs. And surprise, surprise, there's earthquakes there.
Isn't that weird?
The fact that they don't mention these two facts in this story calls into question the whole truthiness of this story. For argument's sake though, fracking can cause earthquakes because fracking does break apart rocks. And if you break apart rocks, it'll cause a tremor of some kind. What's often called microtremors that you can't even feel. If you go out in your backyard with a hammer and break apart rocks, you're creating tremors. But a leap of logic is made in this story here, what is called a non sequitur, because one does not follow the other.
The Attorney General of the state of Oklahoma is a man named Scott Pruitt. He took office, he was sworn in 2011. That year, the year he took office, 2011, the number of earthquakes in Oklahoma that were a magnitude 3.0 or above was 63. Last year, Oklahoma had more than 600 earthquakes of that size.
Here, she makes another association fallacy, another type of red herring, by associating the 644 earthquakes that are 3.0 and above, and the fact that he happened to be the Attorney General at the time. You are meant to believe that they are somehow associated just by her putting them in the same sentence. But literally, neither one has anything to do with the other except for the fact that they both happen in Oklahoma.
Maps, yeah, that's the one that you saw in that NBC Nightly News piece, and I think we've got one more. Yeah. Okay, so these are the maps from that study. You notice anything they all have in common? All of them are very, very focused on one area of the country, right? It's like flashing red lights. Danger, Will Robinson, danger, Will Robinson. It's all right there on Oklahoma.
We're all gonna die!
For the last couple of minutes, she lambasts how out of control the industry is, with no evidence having been produced at all during this segment. Then, to try to throw Mr. Pruitt under the bus, she makes sure to mention his tenure during the same time. Also, a letter he had sent to the EPA and the shuttering of Oklahoma's own state EPA office. But she makes no offer of evidence about why he did this, what prompted the letter, or what the aftermath was, if any. Her point for us, as useless human resources, is that he did something she did not like, which makes him bad.
Right.
To wrap up this Punchout, it's clear to see how she took a story, misled us, and slanted it to make Mr. Pruitt look bad. But the real target here was the president, because he appointed Mr. Pruitt to his cabinet, and to people like her, the president is public enemy number one. But by doing just a little digging and just a little more critical thinking, anyone can see the holes, logical fallacies, and lies people like her try to sell us. Some of us are so ingrained in this type of thinking, there is no helping them. But some of you at least have an idea that what is being given to us just isn't right. If you like what you saw here, please subscribe or whatever, or just come back for next time. As I get better at doing this, the videos will get better and the punch outs will get that much sweeter. Thank you.